Alright, so that was The Lost Turnabout, the very first one for Justice for All. So who would like to go first to give their final thoughts on The Lost Turnabout?
I'll go first this time. Why the fuck not?
Alright, go right ahead.
First of all, this case went by really quickly.
It did, pretty much the case, in the end, it still went by as smoothly as possible and such.
And honestly, I'm glad we came back to this case because I had forgotten how funny it was because the last time I played this case was in gosh
The last time that
2018, I
we
guess.
touched on this case and everything, I know you said that, at first, it wasn't your fan favorite, and that was mostly because of the writing and everything, within this case and such. Because pretty much I remember that, our running joke with this is that, you felt that, that pretty much you felt this was an episode that Sharon Miller probably would have written.
Oh my god, yes, yes. Wow, do you actually remember that?
I
I
did,
completely forgotten
actually.
about that.
I did, actually.
Because I did. Yes, that's right. I did say I do remember now. You said this episode did remind me of a Three Strikes Formula episode, trial or whatever.
Yeah.
This case reminded me of a Three Strikes Formula. But honestly, looking back on it, it's not that bad. I don't know why the hell. I don't know what the fuck was I thinking.
It's not, now pretty much I will admit that, pretty much I will admit that, in terms of, the other first cases and everything, this one, at least to me, is the weakest and everything, but at the same time, there were still a couple of, traits and everything, and even, a couple of moments that still made this case entertaining for what it was at the end of the day.
Oh, indeed, and the character interaction was at its peak as well.
It was, it definitely was and everything.
There's not much negative to say on this case, honestly, because this case was pretty simple. It's got a simple plot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could easily solve it as well because it's very easy, you know.
It is.
And yeah, and yeah,
Alrighty.
I don't have much negative to say. Now, compared to the rest of the cases that are gonna come later on in this game, especially one in particular,
Mm-hmm.
I think this case won't be staying at number one for long for me.
Alrighty. Alrighty. We're pretty much that's normal and everything. Okay. And pretty much compared to alright, well, pretty much compared to the last 5 cases we played from the last Ace Attorney game, where would you put the Lost Turnabout? Pretty much right now, if you had to put it on some kind of ranking or
Okay,
tier list.
counting the ones from the previous game,
Mm-hmm.
counting the ones from the previous game.
Yes.
Okay, this one will be in the middle actually.
Oh, interesting. Alright.
It will be in the middle because the samurai one is almost at the very bottom. Oh,
Ooh,
it's at the very
interesting.
bottom for me.
Alrighty.
Samurai then will be Rise from the Ashes.
Okay.
Then will be what's the name of that one? The Sisters, One Turnabout Sisters,
Yes.
and this one.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So far that a Lost Turnabout is saying at your top 3 spots and such. Interesting.
Yeah. Then Turnabout Goodbyes.
Ooh,
Oh no
okay.
no 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 my bad my bad my bad
Uh,
my bad no 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 my bad
okay, I
my
was
bad.
gonna say.
Then the first Turnabout and then number one Turnabout Goodbyes.
Alrighty, not bad. Not bad at all then.
What about you?
Alrighty. Alright, well, before I do, let me see if I can come up a little bit. I have not. Okay. We're pretty much doing this. ESN wakes up tomorrow and everything. And I'll ask him for his thoughts on the Lost Turnabout sometime later. But pretty much, at least for me, in terms of the Lost Turnabout and everything, I will admit, I do understand where some people are coming from. To those that say that this is their weakest case of the franchise and such, and probably the Sun is the weakest first case and everything, because it's not so much the fact that it's some well, actually, I guess you can't fault it for being, a bit too simple in some places, within this case, especially
But
when
I
compared to,
will say this.
hmm,
I was gonna say, compared to other trash cases, this guy doesn't know because he hasn't played it yet. But compared to other trash cases like Turnabout Center Rate,
Mm-hmm.
this one is nothing compared to Turnabout Center Rate.
Yeah, I mean,
On my
like,
Apollo Justice, but keep going.
yeah, like, pretty much I believe you on that. But like I said, I will admit that, like, there are some parts in this case I will admit, like, it's a little bit silly when you think about it, like, for the fact that, like, pretty much no one ever questioned, like, how the hell can Dustin Prince write anything on the ground if he snapped his neck and such because of the fall and such? So pretty much, like, yeah, to make a fair argument when it comes to that and everything. Richard Billington is definitely, like, a hit and miss character with, like, some people and everything. Pretty much like with, like, other, like, characters like, Red White and such. He's one of those characters where pretty much, like, you either love to hate and everything, or you're just really annoyed by him that, like, that pretty much at this point, that pretty much at a certain point and everything, that, like, you're kind of glad that, like, he's already found guilty, right? Pretty much right from the start and everything. Me personally, there are a lot of stuff from Richard and such that I do find funny and everything. Pretty much, especially when we got to, like, the banana part and such, him having, like, bad eyesight and everything. And again, it is very convenient that somehow he and Phoenix have the same model phones as well, too. So pretty much, like, yeah, there are a lot of convenience, that does come about with the Lost Turnabout and everything. And definitely, like, a little bit when it comes to the first Turnabout. There is some argument to be made that the first Turnabout does have more engaging parts, when it compared to, like, the Lost Turnabout and everything. But I will also argue that, at least in terms of, like, not only, like, with the Lost Turnabout, but this is just more so for, like, Justice for All overall and such. Pretty much this game really has stepped up when it came to its trial music and such. Especially when it came to, like, the absolute truth, and even, like, the moment where it plays, like, that Pursuit theme. It really does get you hyped. Sometimes I argue that, like, it gets you more hyped up on trying to get the bad guy, more so than, like, the first Ace Attorney game usually does and such. And that's not me saying that, like, I'm putting down the original Pursuit theme, because the original Pursuit theme is still a classic, in of itself, for a very good reason. But it's just one of those games where it's just, like, I sometimes feel I'm in the minority, where, like, I say that, like, most of the time I kind of prefer, like, Justice for All soundtrack when compared to Ace Attorney at a couple points and such. And there's going to be there's going to be a lot more stunning and beautiful, like, soundtracks, the more we ventured on with Justice for All and such. But pretty much for me and everything, like, I will admit, at this part I also will admit to, and this is something I do agree with, like, some call me Johnny and such. I pretty much, like, for a way to, like, for a way the team had to do in order to, like, somehow try to find a way to make a tutorial case all over again. In a way, it was actually very smart of them to, like, have Phoenix get amnesia and such. Because, like, pretty much, like, they didn't get amnesia and everything, then it would be, like, very hard to believe that all of a sudden that, like, he has to learn how to be a lawyer all over again for no reason and such. This way with him, with them, like, giving Phoenix amnesia and everything, they actually do have a perfectly good excuse on why he needs to, like, suddenly learn how to be a lawyer, or at least, like, remember what his job is, like, supposed to be and such. So pretty much, like,
That's a fair point.
yeah, pretty much. So pretty much, like, yeah, with the clever writing and everything, or at least, like, somewhat clever writing, because, like I said, there are still some, like, silly, questionable moments that the Lost Turnabout does present. And I will admit, in terms of engagement and everything, like I said, there is still some engagement in here. But I will admit and everything, I do understand why the anime, like, pretty much skipped this case at first and pretty much saved it for the second season and everything. Because pretty much outside of Maggie Bird, and actually a little bit with, like, the dream sequence, and even with, like, Wellington's statement about, like, Phoenix doesn't know who he is, as of yet and everything. This is one of those cases where pretty much, like, you could play once, and then if you want to skip it, you can pretty much go ahead and skip it, because like I said, outside of Maggie Bird and the dream scene, you're really not missing all that much when it comes to, like, all the other stuff that, like, when it comes to, like, all the other cases that will later, like, build itself up to the grand finale that we'll see from Justice for All later on and such. But thankfully from here on out, from the rest of the games, like, each of the first cases will actually play a major part in the game, for the game in of itself and everything. So pretty much like with the first Turnabout and everything, we will start seeing more first cases to where, like, they actually will serve a purpose. And they're not just there to, like, I pretty much gave a tutorial for people that probably never played the games before, and such. So pretty much with me overall. In terms of like Lost Turnabout, like I said, there are still some fun moments that this case does still offer and everything, and pretty much there were still lots of really good and funny moments within this case. That let's see. Honestly, for me, you know what? I'm gonna be very generous. I'm gonna be very generous, and I'm gonna give like the Lost Turnabout a 6 out of 10 for a very like good one and such. Cause yeah, at the end of the day, like there really is nothing like anything insultingly bad or anything like that. Yes, again, there are still like questionable decisions from the case in of itself. But overall, if you can look past that and such, and like still enjoy yourself like nabbing the bad guy and everything, like. Pretty much like what the Ace Attorney game is already known for, then pretty much you'll have a fun time with the Lost Turnabout and such. And at least in terms of Bonnie, pretty much like what would you rate the Lost Turnabout?
Okay. I think the most comfortable rating I can give it would be a 7 out of 10.
Alright, pretty much a 7 is still not bad. And okay, honestly, yeah, so in terms of rankings and everything...
Because it was still a fun case at the end of the day.
It's still...
yeah, it's weak. Yeah, it's weak compared to the cases from the previous game. And I'll even go as far to say that the first Turnabout is better than this, but it was still a fun case at the end of the day. So
it was, because I mean, like, hey, you still put it at number 3 and everything at the end of the day and such. So, like, I pretty much I still said something that, like, even with the weak points that, like, this case does have and everything, it is still pretty fun at the end of the day.
Compared to, well, I know it's a little bit unfair to compare it to Turnabout Samurai, because Samurai had investigations. This one did not, so it's a little bit unfair to compare it. I'll take the Lost Turnabout compared to Samurai, because Samurai was just a complete waste of time.
Okay. And ESM did woke up a little bit. Did you want to give your final thoughts on Lost Turnabout real quick? All right. I'll probably ask him like later on in the morning and such, and just write it down on YouTube. But yeah. And at least in terms of me ranking the Lost Turnabout, let's see. For me, I will go ahead and place it. You know what? I'm gonna place number 5 and such. So pretty much we're gonna place it right above our Turnabout Sisters and such. So yeah, so like going from least favorite to favorite will be Turnabout Sisters, the Lost Turnabout, Turnabout Samurai, the first Turnabout. Actually, you know what? No, I take that back. So pretty much after Samurai, it will be Rise from the Ashes, the first Turnabout, and Turnabout Goodbyes.
Wait, how come Sisters is at the very bottom? I forgot.
So pretty much, at least in terms of me with Sisters, like, Turnabout Sisters is still fine in terms of, like, a case. But when compared to, like, all the other cases and everything that would come by, it's just one of those cases where it's just, like, because I've been so spoiled by, like, the future cases and everything, especially, like, the other second cases that, like, these games will be known for, especially the one that we'll be covering real soon, Reunion and Turnabout. Turnabout Sisters is just one of those cases where, like, every time I come back to it, I keep seeing more and more faults with it. That, like, honestly, it's one of those cases where, like, sometimes it's very hard for me to go back to it and such in a sort of way.
Do those faults piss you off a little bit?
I mean, not so much, not so much piss me off. It's just, like, it's one of those where it's just, like, I understand that, like, maybe they probably just didn't have enough time to, like, to pretty much, like, flesh it out as much as they needed to and everything, but there were just so many moments where, like, or pretty much it really does scream, like, first time writing and such. And not to say that's a bad thing, mind you, because, like I said, there are tons of, like, stuff in Turnabout Sisters that is still memorable, like, me and Maya and Edgeworth for the first time, breaking down April May, pretty much using the meme of, like, Grossberg and Red White being lovers and everything. Like, there's still a lot of fun stuff that Turnabout Sisters does offer. It's just one of those cases where it's just, like, pretty much just one of those cases to me, like, it just did not age well. At least to me and such. Pretty much I know that, like, Turnabout Sisters is a fan favorite for, like, other Ace Attorney fans, and that's fine. Like, hey, like, if you love Turnabout Sisters, go ahead and love it, because, like I said, like, I don't hate it personally. It's just more and more becoming, like, a weaker case to me, the more that I play it and such.
That's fair. That's fair. To be honest, that kind of mirrors my thoughts on Turnabout Samurai, but
Mm-hmm.
just with some differences. Because the thing that I really disliked about Turnabout Samurai was that it just dragged on for way too long. I think they should have trimmed down the investigations a little bit
And I
because
mean, like,
after a
honest,
while,
and I mean, like, honestly, that part in there, I do, pretty much, like, even though I like Turnabout Samurai myself, I do understand, I will admit, yes, the investigations, and especially the fetch quests and everything, definitely should have been either at least trimmed down, or at least, like, you know, or at least it could have done something with it. Which pretty much is one of the reasons
yeah.
why, like, I'm slowly starting to understand, like, why the anime pretty much, like, trimmed down as much of the original case as they could.
And yeah, I'm glad they did that because, like I said, yeah, it just drags on for way too long. And by the time you're done with the case, you're like, man, I'm so fucking drained.
Yeah. And pretty
Especially,
much
and
the same.
especially,
And pretty much, like, you know, that's the same reason, like, some people have problems with Rise from the Ashes as well, too. Which pretty much, again, Rise from the Ashes is another case that I still love, like, myself and everything. But I do agree that, like, yeah, there are some moments that
oh,
I
I
do
love it
agree
too.
do drag a little bit. Mostly when it comes to, like, the second investigation.
Oh, I love it too. I love it too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I do wish that the investigations would have been trimmed down because yeah, uh, but yeah, going back to Turnabout Samurai real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the problems I had, and it's also a problem if you're a diehard fan and you replay this game a lot. Yeah, the more you replay Turnabout Samurai, the more you see. Yeah, you know what? I start to see the flaws with it.
Yeah. Which are pretty much like pretty much yeah. Like I said, like the third cases from the Ace Attorney franchises are known to be hit and miss with the fans, and pretty much we will find out now with a certain third case that we'll be coming to real soon. But before that, we had to get started with the second case, and that would be Reunion and Turnabout. Which pretty much for that second case, we're going to be introducing to a lot of new characters, some of which I'm so very excited to be voicing for. And pretty much I will say, the story of Reunion and Turnabout, beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful and everything. Like pretty much that's a mystery that really does grab you in certain places and such. And that is also the case that introduces a brand new mechanic for the investigation series. What mechanic is that?
And I know what it is.
Well,
I
pretty
know
much
what it
Barty
is.
already knows what it is, but the rest of you guys that have probably never played an Ace Attorney game, you'll just have to wait and find out real soon.
But we should say no more, or we should spoil the next story.
Pretty much. Alrighty, guys. Well, this has been Sakura Diesel saying thank you all so much for watching. It is so good to be back doing the Ace Attorney streams and everything. Now, just like last time with the last eight... pretty much... go ahead, you first.
I never thought this day would come. I actually thought we were done for good, but
No.
when you tested me back in I think it was March.
Pretty much it was like around March and April where pretty much it was around the time when, like, you know, we were still streaming Zelda 2 and everything, and I thought to myself, you know what, let's see if Justin is still ready to do some more, like, you know, Ace Attorney and such. And pretty much, like, when both you, when all of us, like, were getting that Ace Attorney itch again, we were like, alright, let's see if we can make this happen, and lo and behold, we are back.
Yes, indeed.
And now, pretty much, so, just like last time with the last Ace Attorney stream, these streams and everything will get uploaded by the time that, like, we get started on the case that comes after this stream and everything. So, pretty much as soon as we get started streaming the first session of Reunion and Turnabout, that's when the sessions and parts for, like, you know, the Lost Turnabout will be uploaded to YouTube. So pretty much keep an eye out for that. I'll also make an announcement for that real soon. Because I will say up here in front, if you thought, I will say up here in front, remember what I said about, like, the investigations from Rise from the Ashes taking longer? Well, Reunion and Turnabout and pretty much the next case pretty much also had pretty long investigations as well, too. Now, the good news...
Which does concern me a little bit, because... go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much, the only thing I was gonna say. The good news is that, like, starting with this game, we no longer have to worry about 3-day trials ever again. They will still get mentioned here and there in certain cases, but starting from Justice for All, only 2-day trials. No more, no less. So So pretty much we don't. So pretty much we do not have to worry about an extra third-day investigation, nor do we have to worry about a third-day trial yet. I say pretty much I say yeah, because anything could change with Ace Attorney 7 if it ever comes out. But at least from here on out, and as far as I know, only 2-day trials. That's it.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. So pretty much like yeah. So
they learned.
Pretty much like yeah, they learn from the lessons. So pretty much from what I understand, I think like I think from what I understand, like when the original Ace Attorney came out for Game Boy, I think they actually did complain about like the 3-day trial systems kind of being like a little redundant and everything. So pretty much like the creator was just like, all right, I'll trim them down to 2-day trial system, but pretty much as a compromise, how about we split the trials up into more than just one part? And pretty much, I'm pretty sure everyone was just like, all right, yeah, fine, that works.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
That's better than 3-day investigations, because they learned big time from Turnabout Samurai that doesn't work, because for now, because there is a case I really hate more than Samurai, but that's not until Apollo Justice.
Yes.
But
yeah, so pretty.
Yeah,
but yeah, so pretty much like yeah, what I was getting at and everything, like so pretty much like yeah, for both the reunion and Turnabout and the next case after it, it's very likely that each of these cases will take us 4 sessions to complete and such. With pretty much like the next session, I would not be surprised if the only thing we're going to be doing in that session is the investigation in of itself. Because like I said, that is a long investigation and such. So we're definitely going to be doing a lot of like gathering around, talking to people, and introducing that new mechanic I mentioned as well too.
Yep. So yeah.
Alright guys, well this has been Sakura Diesel saying thank you all so much for joining us on this Ace Attorney Marathon stream. We don't know when we're going to be doing Reunion and Turnabout. It might be next week, might be the week after that. We'll keep you guys updated as soon as possible. But if you guys have enjoyed this Ace Attorney stream, do not forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see more Ace Attorney streams in the near future, hit that subscribe button as well. Speaking of games, don't forget, if you guys got any games you want me to try out, list them in the comments or the YouTube or on my Facebook page. If you guys like movie and TV show reviews, check out my main channel where I mostly do that. Or check out Martin and Barney's co-op channel, Review Bros, where we review movie, TV shows, music, and books together. And speaking of Barney and ESM, don't forget to check out their main channels as well too. I'll put the links in the description below. But until then, guys, this has been Sakura Diesel with my 2 good friends.
Barney also knows Teapot 7.
And as always, it's snoring ESM right there. So until then, everyone, take care, and we'll see you all in the next session where we're gonna take a look at Reunion and Turnabout. So until then, take care, everybody, and bye bye.
Bye, everyone.